Welcome to the Mirandus Farmer's Almanac. I'm your host Xana, and co-hosting with me are ForgedinCrypto, Timboslice, and the Rusty Spork. This episode is a recording of our second live stage where we discuss the latest Mirandus updates from the current fireside chat, which you can find in the show notes below along with information regarding our co-hosts. The topics we cover: overall sentiment from some of the offsite group, resets and seasons that will happen in Mirandus, loot mechanics, and then some of the offsite conversations and theory crafting we had with some of the team members. And with that, let's listen in. So, thanks everybody for showing up. Quick introduction for the Discord. Mirandus Farmers is a community Discord specifically designed for open markets, information, logistics, and networking across all of Mirandus. The idea is here so you guys have easier communications with your deeds, buildings, crafting, and have communication around you. And it's broken down into zones and channels and player roles. Some of the topics we get into tonight might show the importance of like why the server exists. So with that being said, maybe Forge and Timbo, you guys can introduce yourselves. I sit in a hole in Mirandus and I don't really leave it to go out into Gala Gold. I just learned about the Gala Gazette not long ago and subscribed, like literally last week. So
nice. Tim, why don't you go ahead and you start first?
Yo, I'm Timboslice. I am running the Moth Guild, and also partnering with Forge on Gala Collective, or GG Collective now, where we are in the middle of a name change, but yeah, we're partnering together, trying to make some cool ass shit for the community. Get some events ran in all these games and have stuff to do in all these games. So looking forward to working with Mirandus Farmers.
Yep. I'm ForgedinCrypto. I do a whole lot of different things. But like Tim said, we're working on the GG Collective, which is essentially just a Web3 hub for Web3 gamers, the game developers, and people that just want to build for Web3 games in general. I have started the Gala Gazette. I own a few different companies. Nerd Node, we run a bunch of nodes across the ecosystem, Gala being one of those ecosystems. And then Blackharp, which is kind of a holding company for Web3 assets. And then, FIC, which is just kind of a place where we get a lot of people together to talk about crypto in general. And Web3 gaming is just kind of a passion. It's been a passion of mine for a while. So that's me.
Yeah, good stuff. Yeah, and I just learning about all that too. It's like the whole Gala Collective. Just learned about that like last month. So
any connection to Nerd Wallet?
None whatsoever.
Right.
Nerd Node was started from Doc. He used to run nodes for people back in the day. He had his own little business before he started with Gala. And he did me a favor and ran my nodes for free when I was having issues running my nodes. And when he left to go to Gala, I offered to buy his business from him, which he didn't want to sell. But, basically told him that, wanted to go that route, and he was totally fine with me doing it. And so we built Nerd Node, and now we do all sorts of different nodes. So That's just kind of how it started.
Funny history of Doc. He was one of the ones that first started this server with us.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he's one of the first 20 in here. So that's a long time.
He's got a new project. He's got a new project going on. He was running some contests in my Discord the last week's called Arcade. So
yeah, I played it. I played it and I got 7.
Oh, nice.
That shit is hard.
Yeah, it's a fun one. There's some cool stuff coming with that too. So.
All right. Well, Rusty's here to help me with the stage and stuff. I think you have moderator, so at any point you guys want to jump up on stage, just hang out, raise your hand. We're using the chat. Like there's a community stage chat. It's open chat. You can click that and just talk in there. Questions. I think Rusty's going to help grab those as well. If you guys got questions or anything like that.
I will as I see them.
Right on. So, first I thought about starting out on sentiment because I think all of us here on stage were at the offsite. So like just the sentiment of like being there and meeting with the team and your thoughts and feelings like on just the refreshment of Mirandus. I mean, a lot of us have seen the Gala Discord, like with their other games and the numerous fails that's happened, or the lack of communications and stuff. And it was like really refreshing to go down there and talk with the Mirandus team and know the Mirandus team like just has their shit together, man. It's just like this game is like on track for all my expectations. Like a lot of the questions I had for the team were like, a lot of their experience, man. Jay Hughes is just like at the point in his life where it's like he can pick whatever job he wants to do when it comes to gaming development, right? I'm just like, how do you end up here? He's like, McCarthy called me, right? So, and just right, and just I don't know, the freedom they get, and just like, they say it's a very small team, but it's just a lot more freedom they get, and it's hard to explain. It's been 2 weeks, so I don't remember it all, and a lot of them when I was talking to, I was like 4 beers in. So on top of that, I was just trying to get sentiment. Like, is that how you guys felt with the team, like with this Mirandus team, rather than other games or in any ecosystem? Like, how are you feeling about Mirandus?
So me personally, I've known McCarthy for a long time, so that's kind of the in that I had with Gala from the get go of learning what Gala was. But seeing him kind of bring that team together and watching him do what he does, like, I mean, that's McCarthy as a whole. Like he's all about community involvement. He wants the people to be, a part of the system. And this was one of the things that he wanted to put together. Like he funded that, you know, and it wasn't Gala that funded it; it was him. He put that out for the Mirandus community, and he wants people to be there. So I've always been a super big fan of McCarthy and Mirandus, obviously, because he's a friend of mine. But the only other, well, there's a couple other developers out there I've talked to as well that I really like. But the other team that I really like that reminds me of McCarthy and Mirandus is the Star Atlas team. I've talked with them multiple times, and same idea. Like they really want community involvement and pushing the community to build stuff and be a voice to be heard. So yeah, I mean, I was excited to be there and see and meet you guys because a lot of you I hadn't met in person, so it was great to kind of put a face with a Discord name. So
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I feel
Kind of
like.
going.
Go ahead.
Go on. Well, I was just gonna say, when we had the meetup in Austin, we had some votes and we were talking about some different things, and it kind of set the stage for kind of what the grand form is gonna be, I think, where you're gonna have all these different people in the Mirandus community, and we're voting on kind of the direction that the game's gonna take. And we talked about the looting mechanism that was talked about in the fireside, and he got our feedback, and the general gist was I thought most of the people were very supportive of it, and it was just kind of a cool concept, where McCarthy was really trying to get our feedback and seeing what we thought about it. And if going forward that's the way Mirandus goes, I think that'll be amazing.
Yeah, I really felt like down there was like a lot of like, how do you guys feel about this stuff? There was like looking for like a big uprising, like, no, we don't like this, and then, or if it was like, yeah, we're on board with everything you're doing. Like, it wasn't really
yeah, he
building
told me ahead of
building
time that he
anything
was a
with them.
little he was honestly a little worried that you guys, a lot of people were going to be kind of a uproar, just because of the overall Gala sentiment. And he's like, man, I'm ready for a battle. And I'm like, dude, I don't think it's gonna be a battle.
Yeah,
Like,
no,
it's not gonna be a battle. You're doing what Gala should be doing with the rest of the games, and that's involving the community. That's Web3. So
no. I feel like he has control of that little corner of the woods down there, right? It's like kind of like a little separated from Gala, even though it's Gala, but he's like, this is my space and I'm doing this my way. And so far, the way he's doing it's just excellent, right? So lot of good vibes from the way where this game's going. It's everything I expected and more, right?
yeah,
But
I think
go
I
ahead.
think what pumped, or I was just would think what pumped me up the most was like talking to these guys and looking them in the eyes and seeing that they're real people as well. Like they weren't just some Like every single one of them was well spoken, crushed questions, had answers for most anything. Like honestly, being like seeing Jason Hughes, like that dude is a beast.
Yeah. Yeah, dude. A lot of those teams, they're like excited to like work for that project, I feel
I know.
like.
Well,
Like
I love the spiciness of some of them. Like they would pop back on stuff. Like
yeah.
they had strong opinions. You could feel how much they loved the games. That how they didn't just like tuck away in a corner. They fought. They're fighting for the game. So it's good to see that.
With that 25
Yeah.
years experience. All right. Well, let's get into some of the AMA stuff. And I don't know how everybody feels about it. Like the biggest thing, like on the on-site, the biggest thing to me was the resets and the seasons. And I don't know if they even pushed how important that kind of is in the AMA, but just the fact that for as far as you can see, there's always going to be a reset on the game. Now they said in the future that there may not be no more resets, like years down the line where it's just like they can let the game go without having to do a reset. And when we get to that, they also say when we get to that, we'll cross that bridge when we get there. But the resets fixed a lot of big problems that I had, and one was the item inflation. So at the reset, items, everything is gone. You lose everything. You lose your mastery. You lose your deed spots. You lose your building spots. You lose everything except for these ancient NFTs that you would get, right?
You'll find those naturally, playing the game and such.
Right.
And your
Well, not,
and your material.
And your Materium, of
And
course. And your
yeah,
Materium.
I don't think they're ancient NFTs, just NFTs in general.
Well,
Right?
he used the word
Well, any
ancient
NFT
NFTs.
you
I don't know.
any NFT you get is going to be you're going to have it going forward. You can't lose an NFT.
Right.
Well, this
Right.
was one of my questions was like, okay, if I find a recipe for like something simple that I do on my wood shop that doesn't come with the wood shop, do I lose that? Or is that an ancient NFT? Or do I need to find that in the reset? Because I would think that if I find that recipe, I would lose that on the reset and that would have to be found again. Because then a reset, you restart, you have this recipe that nobody else has. I mean, I'm okay with that too, but I'm just I'm not sure what exactly we get to keep.
No, because he did use the word ancient, right? So it's like, okay, because I mean, technically, they could make it to where, let's say they mint a bunch of all different rarities. They could make all of those items non-usable.
Well, theoretically, they could depreciate NFTs like Gala has in the past.
Well,
Yeah.
and anyways, the idea is like it kills the item inflation, one. And then the late game starters, so that separation between this guy is so powerful, he's been playing the game for 3 months or 2 weeks, and you just started. So it kind of kills that separation where people kind of get excited and ready for the next restart, and it gives the people to like do the land rush again. And that's a lot to where that's the server comes into play with trying to figure out, okay, last time I was set up next to a guy that had a wood shop and I had a wood shop. And the fact with also the resets is the renting of exemplars and the renting of buildings lasts for that entire season. So, how do you guys feel about that?
Me personally, I think that the rental system is going to have to definitely evolve. And they say it's going to last the entire season, which if it's a week, it's fine. And I understand where they're coming from in terms of if you only rent it for a day or an hour, it may not be beneficial for one, the NFT owner, but also the person that's renting it because they've done a lot of harvesting and, all of that stuff that they gather does not, they're going to lose it if they don't have that NFT that goes with it. But I think, go ahead.
Going off what Forge said, there's gonna be times where, hey, you might want to rent a really really big boat. Where I don't want that for the whole season. I just want that for maybe a day or two to do whatever mission I'm trying to do. And I feel like that needs to be implemented in some way where you can get small rentals of large assets like that.
But as a player, I was gonna say, as a player that comes in, you're just wanting to play the game, right? All the deeds, all the buildings, the boats, all that stuff, and ownership is all invisible to you. You're jumping into the game. You have this exemplar, or you rented this exemplar. What comes down to easy onboarding? If I'm a player and I just rent an exemplar, I don't want to have to be like, I've rented this guy for an hour or 10 minutes. I have it for the season. If I have this building and I got this spot, I want it for that season. If I rented
I,
access to this boat, I would like to have it for this foreseeable season, and this is the price.
yeah.
I understand when he was talking about time limits gets kind of weird, especially if you're a
No, and I
user of
think
the game.
I think it's going to stay that. I think it should stay that way in the beginning for
Yep.
sure, like
Yep.
when we first start. But you're going to see, guilds really start to want to be able to manage the people they have using their assets, and that's where I think an external third-party NFT lending program is going to work just fine. I mean,
Right.
it's not going to be that hard to people to push that out.
Well, that
Um.
go ahead.
Oh yeah. No, that's it.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's where it kind of gets kind of tricky when like you got a deed over here, you're not communicating with the deed that's next to you, and you guys have the identical buildings, like both have a wood shop, but you don't both need a wood shop. One of them needs this, but you rented to this guy already, and it's for the season. So I can see that becoming a problem. That's like reasons why I think like we need a server like this. We need to communicate and find out whose our neighbors are and what buildings they're going to put down, and can we like kind of make it efficient, the area more efficient. So yeah,
For sure.
it's just like it's like a lot of it's a land rush. Like I imagine we get in the game, there's a land rush to get this stuff, and then you put down your buildings, and then you realize that your neighbor has the same exact buildings, and I'm just like, how? Then we learn that for the next reset. But I guess we'll have resets weekly, bi-weekly, monthly, right? Just as things come along. But how do you guys feel about timers on building swapping? I tried to get into McCarthy with the building swapping timers. Like listen, these people that not renting buildings to, but they own the buildings and they put their building down. Well, they get to just up the building and put a new building down immediately. I feel like that would be like discombobulating to other players and cause confusion. So how do you guys feel about timers? And everybody in the audience, I mean, in the chat, like, how do you guys feel about having like daily or weekly timers where you can't move your building that you put down for like a
What was
week
his?
or a day?
What was their solution they came up with?
Well, they just mentioned, yeah, I can see how we might need like, some kind of cooldown. But, it's hard to tell. It's like all testing, right? This game is still extremely alpha, even when we
Yeah.
get in there on the play tests. So I didn't know how people felt about having that, but I try to push on these having the building timers on there. Um, okay, there's the option. It wasn't mentioned in the playtest. The option is starting at a new citadel if you played in the playtest. You guys remember that? I don't remember the specifics on that though.
That was when you were advanced, right? So if you get so far in the game and you're upgrading your character, you've got so much in NFTs and whatnot that you've accumulated over time, and starting on the first citadel is just kind of like cumbersome, or you're just not going to be into the game and you're already need to want to advance to the
Yeah,
next citadel
that's right.
thing. Yeah.
So yeah, having that, you get to start to the next citadel.
Yeah, that's a long ways off.
Yeah, that is a long ways off, but we'll see. Um, that's all I had for resets and seasons. We're having a discussion, guys. So I don't know if there's anything that you have to like. I'm about to move on to loot, but resets and seasons. You guys have anything that concerns, questions, ideas?
I'm honestly, I'm super excited to see how it turns out. Like,
Yeah, it's gonna be
I feel
fun.
like, I mean, so they did talk about both ends. They were like, if we get through this and people actually like this style, because it's never been fully done in a high quality game of a season style World of Warcraft, essentially, or whatever.
I DM Mandy and I was trying to talk to him. I was like, listen, dude, you could take these seasons and you can make it into a storyline, and you could be like, we
Yeah.
defeat this boss. The reset happens because you defeated this boss, and then we all start over, and we forgot
Right.
everything, and then like we got to figure out what's going on, and we gear back up, and then it's the next boss, and you kill that boss, and then you get reset. It's like, what's the storyline? His reply was just like, what if there was no lore? That's like that works too.
No, I mean it is like every time the season resets, you have random new treasure spots, right? That concept of
Yeah.
like new
Yep.
new puzzles to solve, new mysteries to find, new hidden material
New
places, like
zones.
new zones to find, new hidden islands, new hidden treasure maps to find hidden
Yep.
islands. All this stuff, I love the concept of seasons, and we've seen it done so well with Fortnite and Warzone and these battle royales. I mean, Fortnite is its own metaverse now.
Yeah.
Um, and and you're sitting there. The the first start of Fortnite is, you'd move on to a new map and you wouldn't get to play the old map the same. So like having that progression, um, in an MMO style is going to be really fucking cool to see. And I think it's a really cool concept because it fends off that existential dread and a lot of those problems that you talked about of you know depreciation of assets and
Yep.
NFTs
I
and
think
all.
this, like when he told us this, I was just like, whoa, that's heavy. Like I had to like go back to that. Like a bunch of us rented an Airbnb, and it was just like we had to talk about that. It's like that was the resets was the biggest thing to me because that like I had to sit back and kind of comprehend that. I'm like, what's
Oh, it was
that?
game
What's this
changing.
mean? Yeah, what's this mean? And I'm like, well, it fixes all these problems,
Right.
and there's nothing
Oh,
really bad to it.
they
I
have
think this can
literally
work.
the fail safe is wired into the game where they can just every time. I mean that they have weaved it this way where they can interact with the community, show us updates, give us gameplay, but then also use it to find the bugs,
Yep,
make the tokenomics. I mean,
yep, it works.
we're gonna we're gonna get the tokenomic model we get. I don't know. I think it seems to be pretty lenient. Um, it's
It's
gonna
pretty
be
straightforward.
right. Like,
Well, they're not going to be going with the daily distribution that we talked about, which clearly
right.
does not work in any Gala game, which is, I think, makes me bullish.
No.
And then going to a little different note, Rocket Dog asked the question if any items are craftable in NFTs, and if so, do they survive the resets? I don't really remember talking about that. Do any of you guys?
I mean,
Yeah, they chatted about the crafting, and I don't think all the crafting stuff
yeah, it doesn't
as of right
carry.
now are not going to be NFTs, because that's part of the tokenomics that they want to continue in there. Because if you have it to where you can craft and then sell these as NFTs, and then they just stick in the game and never go away, then it kind of takes away from the overall tokenomics of it, right? They want the ability to keep pushing the material back into it to keep crafting stuff.
I do think later down the road that'll definitely be a thing, just not, in the next year or so.
Well, I mean,
Probably for some like really like ancient or whatever type of item, something that's going to be a big deal, right? It won't be your normal sword that's going to be turned into an NFT.
Well, we do know some things that you find in the game, like the mother's blood and the mother's crown. Those will never be dropped again. Is something that was discussed, which is makes me very happy as a blood owner. I got one of the kills, and that makes me really happy that I know it won't be diluted by another mothers in the world, and then a bunch of people can get those mother's blood.
Right.
I think we should probably be expecting something like that with all his use of the word ancient NFTs and all this stuff. Like the way he talks, he really wants to make sure that NFTs are the really important items.
Yeah,
That
he compared
once they're
ancient.
made, once they're made, they're there, and so that need
Yeah, he
They need
compared
to be
Ancient to
useful
Lantern in the
NFTs.
Sun. Yep.
But,
Yep.
but no, it's exciting. It's gonna be exciting to see kind of what the next few NFTs in the game are that we can get as players
Right.
and to fight over and kill the mobs, and it's gonna be really exciting.
Yeah, seasons allow new players to come in without feeling like they have to play for hundreds of hours to catch up, and allow veteran
No, but
players
yeah,
to
but
get
still
their
be
fun.
new NFTs
Yeah,
coming
good
in
point. Yep,
every
that's
few
the point.
months.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, and you're always able to earn Materium the whole time. So I mean, yeah, the seasons are gonna be super cool.
Yep, it's gonna work out. At the end of the day, I loved it. It was the perfect idea, and I never even thought of it. All right, let's move on to loot. How's everybody feeling about loot? Damage is the only qualifier.
This was a big conversation. This was fun watching people.
Let-
This is probably the most heated conversation I thought that we all had in there, which
Bruh,
was interesting.
did you guys raise your hand when I asked the question? Who's healing? Because I
I
fully
did.
Oh,
expect everybody to raise their hand to be a healer.
oh, I'm gonna heal all day, and I'm gonna throw fireballs.
Oh yeah.
I think we're gonna find that if the guys making the most Materium might be the healers and stuff.
You think it's going to kill the support class?
I think it'll be very powerful for various guilds where you'll have a small, tight-knit group where beforehand loot distribution is discussed. But for the average player who's not in a guild, I think it's gonna be rough.
Well, I don't know. Do you go back to I don't know if you played the WoW. You go back to the WoW days, you run back to the town, you'd be like, I found this stuff and you guys got to take me with you, or trying to gather a group up, and like how do you handle those loot rolls with a bunch of strangers? It's going to be rough.
I think
Yeah, it's gonna be tough.
It's going to be
I
rough
think
just for mobs out in the open.
Yeah,
I think what might end up happening is like it just changes the support class. The support class we all know and love is not going to be the same because he's used the word Gandalf many times. Like he wants those wizards to be far and few between,
Yep.
right?
Special.
Right. So this is where I see like it might actually change the support class where the average guilds and players really rely on, the song buffs, the food, going to the inn.
How
Like,
expensive does it get though? Like if you want that to be
right,
rare, then it's got to be expensive.
right. But I think I think it might change the normal support class people to become the deed owners and the building owners and the people making enough extra Materium to go overdo that or get past that threshold where spending Materium on magic is worth it.
Yeah.
So, Sinister and Lucky just asked to speak. What do you guys? What are your thoughts?
Get ready.
So,
Get ready to
something
never
that
speak again. Sinister's here.
sorry.
Go for it.
Yeah, something that I brought up at the offsite about the healing discrepancy was that it doesn't necessarily exclude them from damage calculation. If these sort of things are meant to be, a ratio to begin with, that you do X percentage amount of damage and therefore count as, as relevant. You're not quote unquote plinking, right? Then you're included in, in the loot share mechanic, as it were. My suggestion to that was, well, is there any reason why a healer wouldn't have like a damage buff associated with the heal, or radiant damage on hit or something like that, where they are contributing enough damage to count towards the kill and everything like that? So, presumably if you're working together in a party, which I would assume that your healer would be, somebody that you would be in relatively close communication with, that it wouldn't really be much of an issue to decide, once you get to the monster, or whatever it is, big thing that you wanted to kill, that it would be relatively easy to decide who gets what, because, cleric is still here and they're still contributing towards damage just like everybody else, just less.
So I come back to thinking like with magic and with healing, like how often are we going to be able to that have to heal. So am I in there as a healer, as a warrior as well, or do I have to have those discs on me? Can I have my sword and I'm helping DPS, or I'm using an arrow and I'm getting the DPS in too? And then I always go curious about like, am I going to be able to see people's health when I do heal them? So I'm curious about what the UI looks like for that too. But is it more that I'm focused on damage and then I'm watching for who needs heals? I'm just curious, like what's combat going to look like in this game? I mean, it sounds like magic's rare, right? And how often do you have to use the magic? So I keep coming back to that. It's like, how often do I have to use the magic? Am I burning a ton of materium all the time when it comes down to healing, or is this like something that's like not expensive, right? Like it's not necessary to heal as much as you would think you have to heal.
He did insist that being a cleric, someone that devotes themselves exclusively to
Healing.
light magic or healing
Right.
support class, as it were, would be quote unquote the ultimate flex. That you spend materium on a regular basis just to keep other people alive. Hopefully, they're as good as they say, and they can actually hold up their end of the deal and kill whatever it is that they intend to kill if you spend the money to keep them alive.
Right.
Are you actually making progress into this, tremendous army of fucking goblins? And if not, then what was the point of me coming to, end up spending more materium than you gave me in the first place to be here?
Yeah,
At that moment, I just leave.
Yeah, I could see some debates on that. What do you got, Lucky?
I mean, personally, the healers they'll be huge in the raids, right? I wouldn't necessarily consider them like it might be a waste of material just using it out in the world just for grinding, but for raids, definitely it's a must. Hopefully, it's not too much materium though.
Yeah, but if you're a healer and you're just out in the world, how do you damage? Or is your damage great enough? Or do you have to have somebody with you at all times?
Well,
Or is it just swapping out the
apparent,
discs for a
uh,
sword? I don't know.
yeah, that's my guess too. Is I'm guessing they're just swapping stuff out, just like it was in the playtest. Now,
Right.
like you just have to have it on your hotbar.
You guys like the loot? Are you happy with this loot system? Or, I mean, I'm willing to try it. It's like he has a vision. I'm going to try it. I don't know what to expect out of it, but I'm a healer and I need gear, so I'm a little wary of it. So I'm just feeling. How
Hopefully,
do you guys feel about it?
Hopefully it's not going to be too busted because then like randoms are just going to run in and then heal one person and then have a chance to steal all the loot. I mean, just like the playtest was.
Well, they got to
I
do
don't.
qualifying damage.
They won't
Yeah,
be
but
getting it. They won't be able to loot at all.
if they classify the healing as like a loot mechanic
They won't.
with the damage.
No, but it was discussed where you have to do a certain percentage of damage on the mob, or else you won't be able to loot it, which is going to disqualify the healers.
Yeah, I was reading about that when you posted it last time, and I personally like the system that they were doing with the damage because I don't like how people just hit something once and then just sit back and wait. I'm like, at least with the damage system, bosses will die faster because everyone has to contribute to it. So, like, if you get like bigger raid bosses and stuff, like they were talking about before, like the world boss or whatever, like we're gonna need a lot more people.
What about you, Timbo? Forge, Sinister?
I think it's a good shot at something new, something fresh, and a lot of what McCarthy talks about is rooted in like the way something would actually work in a real fantasy world. Like I mean, they use the phrase fantasy simulation a lot.
Mm-hmm.
They want it to be like, yes, it's a fantasy world, but we want it to be as like if you put on VR, you're in there. Like, and it makes sense. Everything's compelling.
Visual D&D.
Exactly.
It just sounds to good reason that these things should work this way if they were to emulate real life. And at some point, you have to draw a line on the fantasy end of things and question to yourself about, you know, mechanics of how items can stack up, how bugs can occur within loot rolls, all kinds of other different weird things that happen with like those sort of personal loot mechanics and things like that. And whenever you have a set number of items, of things that enter the game within a finite kill, that is like the way that things work in real life. Whenever something dies, not everybody gets a piece always. That's life. If that's the line that we want to draw, like in terms of the realism versus the fantasy, then like at some point we have to recognize, you know, that it's a tech lift on some end as well to consider the alternative, which is that, you know,
Well,
you just let people, you know, free kill things willy-nilly, you know, until we discover, you know, deeper mechanics about how all of those sort of things work, and then we inevitably break it.
yeah, traditional, you know, MMOs, man, it's definitely outside the box thinking, and I like it. That's why I like to try it, just the way that it works. Because normally it's, I don't know, if you go with fairness and random loot, I understand what he's talking about, where you reach down and there's nothing there for you, but then the guy next to him reaches down and then he got something awesome, and then the next guy reaches down, there's nothing there, and it's just weird, right? So I understand what he's talking about that.
That would never happen to you in real life.
Right.
Just like if someone
But
was
could you
carrying around a
replace
magic
that?
sword, you would all see them carrying around this magic sword. We kill them. There's only one to go around. You know,
Right.
if there's the personal loot situation where it's just like, oh, it has a random chance to drop the magic sword or whatever the hell that it was holding. It's kind of weird that you see it dead on the ground, holding, still clutching this thing that you just can't pick up. Or even weirder, you both get a drop for it, and now we've created two magic swords out of the same
Out of
kill, which
the
is
same visual one
fucking
laying on the
strange.
ground. Right. So it's kind of cool that you open up the window, you see the little wheel spinning. Well, you can't get that one because somebody's already grabbing that. I want to grab this one. Nobody's grabbing this. That's just a different way to loot, and it's kind of cool in its own way, but I'm just like,
Okay,
we'll see how it works.
I have a suggestion on it for depth. Okay, we kind of take this to an extra D&D level. We throw in dispute. That is like, you see the wheel come up, somebody else is taking this. Well, in real life, you could also, hey, reach out, grab their wrist. Hey, you can't take that.
Ooh, yeah, they should do that. Ooh,
Ooh.
that's next level, bro.
That seems doable too.
Yeah, that
and
seems very doable.
we throw in dispute, right? Hey, hang on, you can't take that. It's mine, right? What do we normally do D&D situation in this situation?
Roll dice.
You roll the fucking dice, baby.
Yeah, baby.
Hey, wait, hang on. hold on, right? Now, if let's say like you could weight this, you know, depending on like fairness and contribution and that sort of thing. It's like, well, you know, I get a D6 or whatever because, you know, I plinked or whatever the hell, but I'm still disputing you. Like, hey, like, no, I want that. It's like, well, dude, I did 70% of the damage. It's like you get a D20 to roll.
Well,
it's like reasonably, you could still hit a 2. You still hit a 3 or something like that. And they could hit a 5.
I'll still
you know, and then you lose it. Like, well, damn, you know, you get get suckered. That's life. You know, sometimes the little guy comes up and like yanks your shit, and there's nothing you can do about it. You know, that's just.
I think people will abuse it.
Dude, that's a really cool idea. Listen, I fully say that you put that in the suggestions channel, and I'll steal one from.
100%.
I'll steal an
how do
idea
you-
from Lucky, man, and say, hey, that gives a good use for those tavern dice.
Yeah, a little circle appears on the ground. And you have to interact to sit next to it. You throw one of the dice, and you can get skins for the dice.
So you guys click that circle. You guys click that loot too close together, where it's like, now we can kind of challenge it.
That'd be fun.
Yeah, that would be fun. That's a good idea, Sinister. You should throw that in suggestions for sure.
Yeah, then it'll implement the tavern dice
I
too,
just
right?
talk to the people that matter right now.
Right on. Well,
You're gonna make me cry.
All right, now you guys got any more feelings on loot? Hired help?
I'm a fan of it. I like it.
Yeah, I can't wait to see how it turns out in the playtest.
Yeah, it's gonna
So
be.
we get to test it out.
It'll definitely be interesting.
I think the main question
As long
is,
as the dwarfs don't block our loot again, like last time.
They won't.
You think
Bro, I couldn't get anything, man. They're just too good.
you guys think we'll be buying our classes, or is that something that we just get and choose from or find?
well, have you ever played a game that has like a title system before? Like where there's certain feats that you do sometimes without even trying, sometimes without realizing that you did it.
Like
That it grants
achievements?
you, it's kind of like achievements,
Yeah.
but they also grant you a title that you can use. It's sort of like an equip, but it's more like an enchantment or something like that. It's an aura or something that people know you by that kind of empowers you in a way. It's like okay, I hate that I constantly reference this, and there's very few people that know what the hell I'm talking about. But I used to beta test for Nexon, and there's a game that I really loved that is basically like Korean RuneScape. It's called Mabinogi, right?
Mhm.
And I hate that I keep bringing this up, but it always had really good systems for this. So
It must be a good idea.
okay,
Hmm.
I lost my train of thought. What was the object that we were getting at?
With classes.
Classes, right? So the mechanic here within Mapnoji was that there were certain feats that you get. Like for example, if your character was 10 years old and you killed a bear, you could equip that as a title because it was a feat. It was Bear Slayer at 10, right? Or if you were one of the people that opened the gate to the next zone, there was the Seal Breaker title, and each one of those was unique, and it stuck with the gate forever. The gate would forever display the username of the person that broke it, that figured out how to get to the next zone and broke it, so that nobody else ever had to solve that puzzle again. The gate is just broken,
Yeah.
so that
Part of the
there's
lore. It's kind of cool.
right, yeah,
Well,
and
Yeah.
so
I
like
think that'll be a thing. So we got
you
the
effectively
Goblin King and all that kind of stuff.
yeah
So
you
why?
effectively become part of the game, which I thought was a really unique idea. But there's a lot of titles that basically everybody could get, but there were some that were exclusive because it could only be done the one time. Or there was a certain boss that if you were the first person to kill it, you could only be the first person to kill it that one time. And so each one of those titles, for example, like the Bear Slayer at 10 gave plus 10 strength and like some extra stamina bonus or something like that. Then the Seal Breaker titles, those are the ones that were like really unique, but they gave like you know really like good stats just overall, where it's just like an across the board stat increase. And it wasn't like busted OP where everybody was just like, oh my god, this is the guy where like you have to bring this guy forever at the end. But it was a good buff. It was something that you'd like to have, and that people still recognize, like, oh shit, that's the guy that
Did the
this is
thing.
the guy we would like to have, and we don't necessarily need to have this person, but they're the one that has that buff, so like would be a good idea.
Yeah, that would be cool. I got to talk to McCarthy about like listen. Well, we were talking about I think it was Purgatory. We was talking about Purgatory, and he was talking about how your name is displayed there with how much materium you have, and then he wanted to also where you could have titles, and then I mentioned up like the goblin, like all the goblin titles. And he was like, he was totally on board with that. So hopefully we can get our goblin titles in game as well.
That would be really cool, because those are those examples of the unique ones that won't necessarily always be like best in slot or something like
Yeah,
that,
yeah,
but
it's just
it's
a
definitely
title. I don't need it to give anything,
definitely
but
a
it's just kind
flex
of cool
in
to carry
town.
that over from
Yeah,
some
definitely a flex in
work, some
town where you
achievement
just like
work. Yeah.
show up and it's like, hey, Goblin Slayer, Goblin Lord, or Goblin King, right? Just like, hey, day one, you know what I mean?
Oh yeah. Last thing I had up on here was just personal conversations with the team. Like we all like on site had like our personal interactions and things we were talking about with different team members. I didn't know if anybody had anything to share on that. I had a few, and a couple of them were I learned about, and it was very vague or very actually to the point of this, like horses pulling carts. Horses do not pull carts. Oxes will pull carts. So knowing that like there's the possibility of oxes, which give use case to the barn, right? And so that was kind of cool to me. Another one we just talked with Manny with about the long songs. We were also talking about docks too, so buildings on docks, but not the actual dock. The actual dock will not have a building, but I will still fight for a 5x5 on that thing. But all the other buildings, and then I don't know, Rusty, you said something about a majestic, right?
Yeah, it would be really cool if there was a majestic on some of the docks, but you know,
Anyways,
we don't know.
we don't. Anyways, I was talking to Manny about long songs. I showed him a picture because my daughter plays Genshin Impact, and I posted in Discord quite a while back that it's like she uses the actual keyboard and then looks up music on the computer, and she can play like actual sheet music from the computer keyboard on the game, and it was just like kind of cool to bring that into a video game where her character Harp is playing the music that she's using her computer keyboard for. And I was just talking to Manny that, and he's talking about long song functions and that like he was like envisioning long songs like you're playing Guitar Hero, like it's more of a
Mario.
yeah, like more of a
All
Guitar
right, that would
Hero
be
thing.
sick.
And it's not like you're doing that in battle. You would do that as a charge for the spell, and then it's charged, and then there's an execute button for when you're ready to use it. Now, mind you, this is just all like small talk and ideas and stuff, but it's
Yeah.
always notable when a member
Well,
mentions something cool like that.
something that I talked Manny's ear off while I was there, as I often do. I'm sure you guys are aware that I'm guilty of doing that. But a bug that I put in his ear about the long song, something the way that it was done in a previous game that I tested for was there's a scroll that you have in your offhand, or that's where you would equip it. You equip your
The sheet
you know
music?
your instrument.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, your sheet music. You equip your instrument in your main hand, right? And an offhand item that you have is sheet music, and you can use your composition skill to write music on it. If you write music on magic paper or a paper that's imbued with a certain spell, then that spell is played whenever you execute that particular song. Whenever you have it equipped in your offhand, you play that particular song. Um, the way that you go about composing in the game was like at the time, this was an early 2000s game, so it was all MIDI, but it had every instrument that you could think of. You could, if you wanted to play whatever song that you wanted that you wrote, on a flute or a tuba or a lute or a guitar or all of those sort of things. Like you went and found whatever you needed to make that thing, and then you wrote the music yourself, and then you played it in game. And sometimes people would do really wonky things that were
Mm-hmm.
like it turned out to be really fucking funny and like cool additions to the game, where somebody would like tag a haste spell to Darude Sandstorm and then play it on their lute. Now everybody that runs by is slightly faster as they run by. Just like a lot of fun, where like you got to do some cool things with it. Sometimes like people would often use this as they would break that as a mechanic. What you would do is you would write a song that was effectively only one note, and you memorize how the note sounds, so then whenever it plays you can always get the perfect performance, because it's a random roll every time you go to execute the performance. um and you would get the buff, and then you would very quickly put your you know instrument away and then go to fight. And everyone around you has the buff for a certain length of time, and then they would do it again.
Yeah, that'd be super cool. I also thought like with the even with the taverns with them, man, if you was able to just do your own thing and play something like, can you get it good at, I don't know, playing a keyboard, like where because there's no music in the game, could you create an actual band that goes to a tavern? Like who would actually do that? But
Oh, dude, that would be sick. The Mirandus, like first Mirandus rock band.
yeah, like
Who
it's a
else could-
legit like if you could actually play notes with the keyboard and you could just go to a tavern and like you're good at playing your keyboard. I don't know. Quite random. But yeah, I didn't know if anybody else had any like I'd be interested in hearing what because we all had different conversations with different members of the team.
Oh, I thought the best was the fact that they were all degenerate crypto
Yeah, right?
people.
That was funny as shit. They're all shit coiners, bro.
They're all shitcoiners, and they all own Mog, so that was the best.
They wasn't wrong about that Mog, dude. Pump that Mog.
It's funny.
I was sworn to secrecy by Manny about something that he alluded to a number of different times.
Oh, that
And,
means
the-
what? We'll keep it.
narrative
We'll keep it
director-
secret here, bro.
Yeah, the narrative director goes unnamed.
Not like you're gonna post this online, Zana.
Yeah. But I really like the choice of that and the direction of like how the lore of how the game's like written, like the core motives of why people do the things that they do in Mirandus, why people are in Mirandus, why there are monsters in Mirandus and things like that. You know, the person that actually decides of that, and whenever, you know, I would ask questions like that, and you saw me go, you know, McCarthy point to the board, this is sensitive questions,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
I keep asking questions about lore, and you know that the person in question that, you know, that writes that is not somebody that wishes to be named, is a very private person, and for good reason. He ended up giving me enough information about them that I looked them up and I found out who it was. I'm not gonna say, but I do really, really love the person that they chose to do that. And if you're a tremendous fucking nerd, then you love this guy too. You just probably don't know that you do. He wrote a lot of really, really, really fucking cool stuff.
So
And
so when I say that Manny said, what if there was no lore? Then there will be lore. Because I'm hoping for some lore. Does
Well,
it's-
maybe
it's-
we create our own lore.
well, sure.
There
On
you
top
go.
of that,
that too, I mean, like it is.
but
a
there's
living
something there when
ecosystem.
you
We
find
are-
it.
We are the lore. We are the history
Yep.
in a way.
But it's
Um,
there if you look for it. The history of Mirandus.
Yeah, that there was, you know, before you and I existed and walked planet Earth and decided to talk shit about video games online with our friends. Um, there were other people, and before that there were other people, and before that there were other people, and before that there were societies that have been lost to time, that are no longer there. And I think Mirandus as a living ecosystem is reflective of that in a way, is that there once was, you know, a history to this place, but once we got here we didn't know what it was. And so it's very mysterious, it's very magic. But it's, yes, whenever you ask, you know, like what is the lore of it, it's like, well, what's the lore of like Dark Souls and Elden Ring? It's like you just show up and you're just like, oh, time to kill stuff, you know. But there is a story
Mhm.
that's happening here. It's just that, you know, in real life nobody has all the answers. There's no mystic wizard that lives out in the hills that came down specifically to you to hand you this magic sword and tell you that it's your you know, this, your one true goal and quest in life is this because destiny has written it so. Because, you know, but real life people tell their stories with bias. Real life people tell stories that, you know, that have reflections based on their own philosophy and the way that they want to tell the story. You know, isn't it crazy that the good guys won every single war? Wow, isn't that nuts? You know, like it's like that's just how it is. You know, that's real. That's there's no other way to say it. That's real. That's it's what it is. What it is. You show up, and sometimes, you know, is there lore? Yeah. Will you ever find out what it is? Not necessarily.
Maybe not. But it's nice to know that it'd be there. I'd like to see that.
I mean, if you dug real deep, you might get answers. But
Yeah.
like, would it be particularly useful to you? You know, to know who built the pyramids.
I hope
You
so.
know?
I hope so, because I just learned it's a power plant. So
Is there anyone that would like to join the stage that have some questions or have some comments? Lasagna, Hammer, Cal, anyone?
come on, Hammer. I will give another fun one though, and this isn't going to happen. It's just a thought from a team member, right? What if your exemplar on you're out there in the dungeon, right? Or you're out there in the goblin fields and you're battling and you're short on food. What if your exemplar has an option to turn on their inventory for sale? So you can like go up to another exemplar and you can see what they have in their inventory and use them as a store, and if they're willing to sell that stuff to you.
It's a neat idea, but
Yeah.
one cool thing is we're gonna be able to see what they have on them. We'll see the sword on their hilt. We'll see some of the herbs, maybe
Yeah.
in a pouch on the side of their belt.
Oh, that'd be cool. Then you already see what they got for sale. But now you can buy that off of them. Or they can set their prices if they want to do that. I thought that was kind of a cool idea. Like, why not? Why wouldn't you be able to like sell something to somebody that you have in your bag? Like, yeah, I'll give you my last piece of bread for
He's got that dank.
for this mouth, right? You're about to die, bro. I got to what's that Twilight Zone episode where the gold was super valuable, but like and they took it into the future and it was like abundant. Where it's like, I'll give you this gold bar for some of your water.
Remember? Okay, I don't know if I'm, and I don't know if this is a leak or not. But you remember whenever we like scrolled through the item list and the basic build that they had
Yep.
stood up for us to like mess around with,
Mhm.
and we all saw hemp and freaked out. We were just like, "What?"
I don't know, that AMA, they showed a lot of plants, dude. They got a lot of herb plants. I don't know. Those were harvestable, weren't they?
Harvester of Souls was back there, just like, calm down.
Yeah, bro.
It's how you make cloth. It's how you make clothes, bro.
Right.
Chill. Like,
He's not wrong. All right. Well, we're creeping up on
it was a lot of fun to poke fun at him about that, though. It's just like
that was a good one.
imagine
That's a good
somebody
one.
that grows exclusively hemp. You know what I mean?
Well, we're creeping up on an hour. That's all I had. I didn't know if you guys had anything that worthy of concern or questions or anything. It's kind of a little.
I'll throw one last little thing out at you, and I got to jump. And it's as bullish as I am on Mirandus, the team, and everything that's there, and I love what they're doing. I find it oddly. It's very interesting that there was supposed to be team members from the Gala chain team members there. Brink was supposed to be there, and yet nobody else was there. Nobody showed up.
Oh, they were like breaking all them. Were supposed to be there.
They were
Brink
invited.
even announced it on his ahead of the game podcast. He's going to be there. Heck, Shooter lives just down the road. Like, he got called out last minute to head somewhere else. So,
yeah.
Something to think about. Something to keep in your craw of not all roses, obviously.
I don't know, man. For me, there is only Mirandus.
Well, at the end
Mirandus
of
is
the day,
great, dude.
I think we can trust the guys that are working on Mirandus. There's issues within Gala, of course, but one thing that I got out of the meeting was it kind of reaffirmed my faith in the Mirandus team and where Mirandus is going, and it made me bullish. And I feel like a lot of you had the same sentiment, where it just reaffirmed our faith in the project.
Yeah, at the end, dude, we don't need them guys there. What do they gotta be there for?
Look, man, I agree. I like the team. I love the team, and I love the whole just the game of what they're trying to build. It's going to be awesome.
It is gonna be awesome. Hell yeah. All right. Well, I'll wrap the stage up there, man. Thanks for everybody for coming out, hanging out, chilling out
Oh yeah.
with us here,
Yeah, man,
man.
let's get chatting.
And we'll do it again in the future, right? We'll figure out something to talk about. There's always
Oh
something to
yeah, for
talk
sure.
about. All right. Till next time,
Take care,
guys.
guys.
Peace.
Adios. See y'all.
Uh,
All right. Well, let's get this started. Let me fire up OBS real quick. All right.